Welcome to a live meditation where we can spend some time fueling up our consciousness by just being with life together. And what does that mean to fuel your consciousness? So if you look at it as two sides, and there's a side that is your being, your higher self, your consciousness, whatever label you want to give it. There's that side of you that is just present, just is. And then you have another side that is your ego voice in the head side. And for most of us, that side holds way more power, has a stronger pull in us as a collective. But that is starting to shift, meaning the power, the energy is shifting from being in the hands of the ego voice, that voice in the head, and it having this strong, powerful pull to pull us into lots of dialogue, lots of pain, lots of suffering, pulls us in and controls our reactions. We have a very reactive relationship with life. And if our ego voice likes what it sees, it makes life easier. If the conditions are, as it would say, good. And then if it doesn't like what it sees, then it makes life difficult and painful and challenging, and has all these things to say about what it's seeing and how it's not supposed to be this way and it should be different somehow. And so that power is shifting from being in the hands of that thing, the pain, the fear, and it's shifting to being more on the side of non-reaction, non-resistance to life. No dialogue or conversation in the head about everything that's happening or not happening, and more about just being. And it's becoming easier to have moments of presence, to just be with the life that you're in, the life that's flowing through you, the life that's flowing around you. It makes it easier to be with that as that consciousness is shifting, not just within you, but within the collective. The collective, we are all one energy. That collective energy, it is shifting. I woke up this morning with a very loud, a loud voice, busy. My tidy mind house was extremely busy. It was loud, and a lot of, as I was watching my mind, being with my mind, allowing it to do what it was doing and say what it was saying, but all along knowing I was the watcher of that, I was the silent observer of that. It was very painful inside that space. It was very needy. It was reliving the day before. It was reliving interactions, conversations, things that we witnessed in life. And it was actually, as I was present during the day yesterday, I was actually with a group of friends. And it was very pleasant, very enjoyable day. We were in Nashville and we went to visit the Bell Mead plantation there. And it's really just an enjoyable day. So there was no pain that was coming up in the moment around it. But as I woke up this morning, my mind wanted to, as all minds do, all egos, voices in the head, it wanted to analyze or process or go back into a memory of inside the head of what happened in the past. And it wanted to think on that, to analyze that. And I could feel the pull of you're not doing like the. It was saying this to me, the silent observer. It was saying, "Oh, it's so noisy in here. You're losing it. You're losing it. You're losing consciousness. You're losing power. You're not being conscious. Look how busy the mind is, and it's wanting to look at the past, and it's wanting to analyze, it's wanting to process. You're not doing it. You can't do it. You can't. You're losing it. You're losing it." And I could feel resistance building in me, as in I could feel my resistance to what it was saying of, oh, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to go back into that. But it was really resisting itself. So the resistance and the fight within is always the ego fighting the ego. And it can pull you into it and make you think you're fighting it, you're resisting it. And I just had a kind of awareness of, it's okay, let it do that. Let it say that. Let it be that. Let that resistance, let that pull into, and it wasn't extreme emotional pain or anything like that. It was more of a discomfort inside. A discomfort of needing something, needing more of something. And I want to remember that if I wake up with a busy, noisy, analyzing, processing, memory stimulating, whatever the mind is doing, whatever the voice, the ego, whatever it's doing up on that stage, that I like to put it on a stage and watch it, sit out in the audience and just eat my popcorn as the silent observer and just watch it. So whatever it's doing, I just be with that. And if you find yourself resisting it, starting to feel that resistance, like, oh no, I don't want to go back in there, know that that is its voice also. As soon as you realize that, you're safe then. Like you're back, it's not you. The ego, the voice in the head is always the ego. And if it's saying, you're losing it, you can't do it, it is talking to itself. Whatever it's saying that you are this or you are that, or you're not doing it right, or you should be more of this, and you should be feeling something different than you're feeling, or you shouldn't, it's talking about itself. The battle that is going on is between the ego and the ego, the mind and the mind. Not with the beingness, not with the silent observer that you are. There is never a battle there. And you only get taken over by that if you start believing that that is you. But as soon as you have that awareness, like I did this morning, of that resistance, that battle, that trying to oh no, I don't want to go back into the mind again. That was the mind. That wasn't me. That was the mind also. And as soon as that awareness came in, and I returned to that seat in the movie theater instead of standing up on stage with that ego voice, as soon as I returned back to my seat and saw it having a drama with itself, I was out. It was all okay. Like, it's okay. Allow it to do whatever it's doing on stage. Allow it to say whatever it's saying. Allow it to have all the resistance it wants to have. And just sit there. Just return to your seat. Sit there and watch. If your mind is, the voice in your head is trying to figure out what you're looking at, this is a mint plant. But to the silent observer, it just is. It's just life sitting in front of you, and you're being with it, breathing with it. Breathing with it is something that I heard as I was sitting in meditation yesterday. And used to, the way I would do meditation is I was kind of allowing my mind voice or ego voice to guide the meditation. And it was trying to take me down into these deep places so I could feel this, so I could feel the nothing. It wanted to feel the nothingness space. It wanted to feel the connection. It wanted to feel something. And as I've been practicing presence more and more, and the consciousness has been shifting more to just being with life, and whatever life is in front of me, just being with that, just silently observing that, letting that be, whatever that is, and letting life flow me from space to space, person to person, because it always is. It's always flowing. It's always moving. Even if you just sat down and did nothing, life is going to be moving around you. And then life will move as you are more and more present with life. Life's going to take over your form and move through you, move you, just as it moves the plants, and it moves the birds, and it moves the trees, and it moves, moves the trees with the breeze. Moves things. It's always moving things around. It's going to move you. So don't let your mind say, oh, I can't just sit here, I can't just trust life. I can't just sit and do nothing. I gotta, no, just, if you're present when life comes along and you're just being with it, you're allowing it, you're not resisting it, saying it should be more than it is, different than it is, just being with it, breathing with it, it's going to come for you. But it's not going to matter. It's going to come for you and move you, and then because it wants to take that presence that you're holding, because there's a powerful energy in it. Don't let your mind get stuck on that, though, like, oh yes, power. Oh yes, I'm becoming a powerful being. Don't get into that. Life wants to take that powerful presence that is it. It wants to move it around, and if a form is holding it, it wants to move that form around to places that aren't holding it, and so that it can shift the energy. But that's not your concern. can hear life moving right now. There's a big breeze coming through. But as I was sitting in meditation, I closed my eyes. I was being with the sounds around me. I was being with the back of my eyelids. I was being with the voice in my head. And I just allowed wherever my conscious attention, whatever it fell on, I would just breathe with it. I would just stay the silent observer, stay in my movie seat, eating my popcorn. That's a visual you can use in your head if it helps. And I would just be with it. And I would just float around. And I could almost see myself like a little, if you blow a dandelion and it has that little puff, that little poofy thing. I just kind of felt like that form. Just breathing in and out. Just floating from my consciousness, just floating in front of different sounds. And then another sound would come and it would float to that. And it would just breathe with it, be with it. And then the voice in the head would say something. And I would float to that and I would just be with it and breathe with it. And then another noise in the room would happen. So life was moving, even with the eyes closed. Life was moving. I could hear it. I couldn't see it, but I could hear it. I could feel it. Not emotionally feel it, but feel it physically. And I just kept allowing things to pull my attention from sound to sound, from an external sound to the internal sound of the voice in the head. And I just allowed it to flow and to be with whatever was coming up. And all the while, even though the ego voice would have said, "Oh, you didn't have an experience. You didn't have some, strong feeling or you didn't break out in tears, or you didn't, that wasn't spiritual enough. It has a definition." And my friend, she calls it the spiritual ego, and I think that's very accurate. It takes on a spirit when it starts to learn that you are shifting. The power it's weakening, and the power is starting to shift more toward just beingness and consciousness and presence. And there's more energy on that side of the scale than there is on the powerful pull of the egoic, painful. When it's getting weaker and it realizes that you're shifting, then it decides to, okay, well, I can just have a spiritual identity then. I must be becoming more spiritual. I'm more spiritual now. And then there's a whole, good Lord, there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of content and a lot of words that you can put around the spiritual community. So it just grabs those then. Oh, look how spiritual I am. I just did a meditation and then it's so proud of itself. Or it's so angry at itself that it couldn't hold itself in meditation. It is trying to now pull the power back to its side by convincing you that it's spiritual. So stay over here because I'm spiritual. And it's not all that. It's not all of that stuff. That's still the mind. That's still the ego. It's way more simple than that. It is just being. That is all that it is. It's just life. Sun comes up, sun goes down. We eat 3 meals. We walk around. We do things. We go to bed. We wake up. We eat. That's life. But to the ego, to that, it's like not enough. It's not enough. Like, no, I'm not feeling enough. I should be feeling something that I'm not feeling. There should be more rich emotion coming through me, and I need that. I need to feel. I want, I think. I'm trying, I'm analyzing, I'm processing, I'm figuring out this and figuring out that, and there's all kinds of content and dialogue and words around everything that's happening, and this condition's good, but that condition's bad, and I'm constantly challenged. Life is constantly challenging the ego. And it's not, what's happening? Wake up to what's happening right now outside of the internal life you got going on in there. What's happening in the external life? What's happening in the life that's flowing all around you? The beingness. What's happening there in that world? Not much. Usually it's fairly uneventful. And if you can stay in a space that's unresponsive to other egos as they come up in your experience, you're not going to have any dramas. It's just, you just watch it, just like you are the silent observer of your own mind. You watch the egos in the minds of other people. One thing Eckhart said the other day that I also want to remember is he was talking about self-repair, and how when the ego is challenged and it brings up that pain, and it gets weakened by something challenging it or breaking its stories apart, or it's not getting to hold an identity that it thought it was, and it starts to become weaker. What happens is it wants to scramble to repair itself. So it will do something to recover its energy to the side of the ego, the voice in the head. Oh, I must do something or say something or defend myself to rebuild. Let me rebuild myself. Let me self-repair. And there comes a point where you stop doing that. You just allow it to be destroyed. And because you're not engaged with it, you are sitting in that movie theater seat, and you're not on the stage with it, thinking you are it. You don't want to rebuild it. You don't want to defend it. You don't want it to, and you realize that you're still alive. Life is still flowing, no matter how damaged that ego became. I'll tell you a funny story. Speaking of that, I was with some friends over at this plantation that we visited. The night that I'd gotten there, we were all sitting around talking, and it was nighttime, and I had gotten up to go to the kitchen to get some tea, and I came back and I had my arms full. I don't know what all I had. I had like the tea glass and my phone, and I don't even know, but my hands were full. And so I go to sit down in the chair that I was sitting in, and it swivels. So it was a swivel chair, and I like to sit with like I'll take my, left leg and tuck it up under me and then sit down. So, my right leg's dangling down, but my left leg's kind of tucked up under me. Y'all know. I'm sure you've done it yourselves. But I tucked my leg up under me. I was standing where I thought I was connected well with my other leg to the chair. And I tucked my leg up under me. And I go to sit down, and the chair swivels to the to the side. And next thing I know, I am on the floor. I have fallen out of the chair. Now, these are friends that I've not seen in a long time. And when I was with these friends, people who my ego really valued having the respect of. and that experience, which I do feel every experience is brought to you today by life. By life itself, helping to weaken your ego. So life brought that experience of a humbling experience of just flat out falling out of a chair. I didn't spill my tea, by the way. So I got up and I thought, or I've been practicing this just being with life. And I observed my mind in that moment. And it really didn't have that strong a pull, but I was just aware that had I not been practicing the presence, that my ego would have talked about that and talked about that and talked about that and punished me over that, and how, oh my God, you embarrassed us, and how could you have done that in front of these friends you haven't seen in such a long time. I didn't hear that dialogue, but it did remind me of it several times. Like, it did bring it back to my awareness, as in wanting to replay the memory so that I would repair it, so that I would build it back up and say, oh, whatever, make excuses for it or whatever. But I just allowed it. What else can you do? We have crows around here, and we have about 5 or 6 of them that just hang out, and they just fly from across the road to my neighbor's yard, back and forth all day long. And they just squawk, and some of them talk like it's almost like they're trying to make words. So the next time life provides an experience for you that that breaks down that voice in the head, that diminishes it or weakens it or makes it look bad or anything like that, just allow that, and allow the pain that comes with it. Just be the silent observer of the pain. Sit with your bowl of popcorn out in the audience and just watch everything it says and does to try to get you to repair it, to rebuild it, to make it feel better. Just watch it, just be with it. And your awareness of it and your silent observation, I want you to also visualize that the power that it holds as it's up there flailing around on the stage, as you hold your butt in that seat, glued as a silent observer, I want you to visualize the power that it has, being that stuck energy, that power that it's been holding in all those identities that it's trapped the power in. I want you to see it flowing to you as that identity, as that self is destroyed, as that sense of self is destroyed. I want you to see that power like it's just been cracked open. Now it's all that power is leaking out of it and into you, the silent observer. And what's the power for? It's so that glue in that seat as the silent observer becomes stronger. Now you're glued more firmly to that seat. And that means you're able to walk through life separate from the sufferer, separate from the voice in the head. Will you still hear the voice in the head? Yeah. But you're just a silent observer of the voice in the head. And it's allowed to do whatever it does, say whatever it says, let it bring up all the pain it wants to, because as you're the silent observer, all that power, that's what you want. That's why life is bringing you these experiences, because it wants to give you the opportunity to shift that power from the side of the ego voice to the side of consciousness. It's always giving you, moving you into situations, moving you into places where the ego some pain will come up. It won't like something that life brings it to. It won't like it. It'll have, that condition's not how I want it to be. It won't like it. And when it gets up on the stage and starts fussing and arguing, and just see it as, thank you for bringing that pain up, life, because as I sit here as a silent observer of this crazy thing on the movie stage, all of its power as it's flailing around is coming out of it and back to me. I'm reclaiming that energy so that I can build strength in becoming that silent observer. Silently observe whatever comes up in the life around you, in your external world, in your internal world. Sometimes your external world is loud. Sometimes your internal world is loud. Sometimes both are loud. Just be with it. And let the power of the presence within you begin to build by allowing the pain of the self as it's being destroyed, allowing that to just get weaker and weaker by not engaging with it, but just observing it. Thank you so much if you joined me live. Thank you so much if you came and listened to the recording. This will be included on a playlist called Keep Me Awake. This is a playlist I'm making for myself personally, as as presence is building in me and consciousness is shifting, I want reminders. I want things that I can fuel my consciousness with, that I can fuel this present energy with. Just as our ego has fuel, things that it likes to use for fuel, we also need that fuel for our consciousness until we don't. Until that we've shifted enough, we've shifted the scales enough, and that momentum is growing and growing. And we just be then. We just be. Breathe with life. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one.